Have you ever had one of those moments? A single thought that just clicks and suddenly everything looks different? It might sound a little out there, but there's this age-old truth that a person is literally only as great as their thoughts. We're about to dive into how that one powerful idea is the hidden key to unlocking a totally different life. And look, this isn't just some motivational poster quote. It's a real fundamental principle. Just think about anyone you consider successful. I guarantee you they figured this out first. The author Napoleon Hill said it best. Our life is basically a mirror, reflecting the thoughts we hold in our heads all day long. They become the actual blueprint for our reality. But that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? I mean, if it's as simple as just changing our thoughts, then why isn't everybody successful? What's the catch? Well, the answer is hidden inside this incredible story about a chance meeting at a train station. Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story starts at a busy train station, and here we meet a beggar. This is his life, his routine. His entire world is pretty much defined by the coins that people drop into his cup. Day in, day out, it's the same cycle, because he believes that this is all that's possible for him. Then, one afternoon, he spots him. A man in a nice suit, just looking like success itself. The beggar's mind immediately thinks, okay, here's my chance. This is the big one. He walks up, hand out, fully expecting a generous handout, just like every other day, but hopefully, a bit bigger this time. But the businessman doesn't pull out his wallet. Nope. Instead, he asks this really simple, almost jarring question. Do you only take? What have you ever given to anyone? And right there, in that one moment, you see these two totally different mindsets collide. The beggar's world is built on just receiving, but the businessman's, his is built on a basic law of life: exchange. You have to give value to get value. And then, with one final killer line, since you can't give anything, you have no right to ask for anything. The businessman gets on his train and he's gone. But man, those words, they just hang in the air, echoing in the beggar's head. It wasn't mean, it was just a raw, uncomfortable truth that he just couldn't shake. For 2 whole days, the beggar doesn't ask for a single penny. He just sits there, replaying that question over and over. He's stuck. He gets it now. He needs to give something. But what in the world does a beggar have to give? This isn't just a problem for him anymore. It's the very start of a massive change. Then, on the 3rd day, he's just staring off and his eyes land on a patch of wildflowers growing next to the train tracks. And that's it. Boom, the idea hits him. It's so simple, but it's brilliant. What if he wasn't just taking money anymore? What if he was trading for it? He decides he'll give 1 flower to every single person who gives him money. I mean, what's he got to lose? And just like that, with that one simple idea, his whole world shifts on its axis. He's not just a taker anymore, he's part of an exchange. The new process is easy. He collects some flowers, he accepts a donation, and then he gives a flower back. He's no longer just on the receiving end, he's a giver now too. And the change was crazy fast. As you can see right here, the amount of money he started making just shot through the roof. People loved this simple little exchange. They gave him way more than they ever did before. But he also learned a really important business lesson, fast. His income was now tied to his inventory. If he ran out of flowers, the money stopped. So some time goes by. Our guy keeps up his new little business, even starting to work on the trains themselves. And then one day, he looks up and his heart must have just stopped. It's him, the exact same businessman who kick-started this whole thing without even knowing it. But listen, this is not the same person from the station platform. He doesn't walk up with his head down. He approaches with this newfound confidence, looks the businessman right in the eye and says, "Sir, today I have something to give you." He offers the flowers, not as a beggar, but like a proper vendor. And the businessman, you can tell he's impressed. He just smiles and happily pays for them. As the businessman takes the flowers, he gets this look of recognition in his eyes. And then he says the words that are about to trigger the final and most important transformation. "Today," he says, "you're a businessman, just like me." And with that, he steps off the train. Those words, "a businessman, just like me," they just hang there long after the man is gone. A businessman? Me? And then, click. Everything falls into place. He finally, truly gets it. A businessman isn't about a fancy suit or a big office. It's a way of thinking. It's about creating and exchanging value. In that one split second, the old identity of beggar just completely dissolved. In his own mind, he was now a businessman.
And that shift, that change in how he saw himself, that was the last piece of the puzzle. He gets off that train a totally new person and basically shouts it to the world, "I am a businessman." He was never, ever seen begging at that station again. Why? Because the person who used to do that just didn't exist anymore. The whole thing was unbelievably quick. That first meeting planted a tiny seed of doubt about his old life. The second meeting gave him a brand new identity. And as you can see on this timeline, in just 6 short months, that new identity had built him a completely new reality. So now let's go back to that same train line just 6 months later. 2 sharp-looking men in suits meet, shake hands. One of them is the original businessman from our story. And the other, you guessed it, it's the former beggar, now so completely changed that he's totally unrecognizable. The now successful flower tycoon smiles, reveals who he is, and explains the final secret he learned that day. "I finally understood," he says. "People weren't giving me charity. They were paying me for the flowers." Just think about that for a second. He was already a businessman. He just didn't see it himself. The second he changed his identity, he took the money he'd saved, invested it, and built a whole flower business. So what an amazing story, right? But the real question, the most important one, is what does it mean for you and me? How do we take this powerful lesson and actually apply it to our own lives, starting today? The takeaway here is crystal clear. Your life is always going to be a mirror of how you see yourself. If you see yourself as small, your world will stay small. Simple as that. The journey starts by giving value, sure, but the real magic happens when you change your own identity. When you stop seeing yourself as who you used to be and you start acting like the person you know you can become. Because once you change that core thought, your reality literally has no other option but to catch up. So we end up right back where we started with a single thought. This whole story really boils down to one last crucial question for you. I want you to take a second and honestly ask yourself, which thought, which story that you're telling yourself about who you are, is it time to change starting right now?